We do apologize on behalf of the control room upstairs. And this evening our guest is the Minister of Mass Media, and he's been the Minister of Mass Media before as well, and also the spokesperson for the government, Mr. Keheliya Rambukwella. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you.
And very sorry about the late start, but we are experiencing technical difficulties, and that actually is my first question. What's going on with the power sector, Mr. Rambukwella?
Well, I think some people say that there is some kind of planned move, or I do not want to believe in that. I feel it's seriously technical, because one of the most complex engineering works is the electricity.
Yeah.
So there can be something, some technical issue. I believe what I saw and what I heard and what I when I discussed, find that the minister has already appointed a committee to investigate into what happened yesterday and what is continuing today, and then I think that's a dub that's been given, if at all, for the last 5 years of governance.
Yeah.
Because we had this experience, I think, in fact, I'm sorry to say that at one stage they started saying that Kalura Jayasuriya, when Kalura Jayasuriya became the power minister,
yeah,
they came down from the previous government at that point in time, and he had to continue for some. But during our period, I think we are a little proud to say that we were able to manage the power supplies with the droughts, and because to my knowledge, our hydro is around 37%, the maximum, and then I believe that that stands as it is.
Mr. Rambukwella, it appears to me that right from the year dot, whenever it is that they started this relying on emergency power, there appears to be a lack of commitment to towards a sustainable, regular, clean power availability. And this goes hand in hand, needless to say, with the other arms of government that try to encourage foreign direct investment and so on. If there's no security in terms of our power, then I'm afraid that none of the other matters like the rule of law and opportunities really matter then.
I quite agree with you. When it comes to infrastructure, when it comes to foreign direct investment, infrastructure is one of the major infrastructure. Out of the infrastructure, power is, I believe, is the main source, and main supply to encourage any investment.
What is even more annoying and unacceptable is that the Ceylon Electricity Board and all others involved in the power sector, composed of men and women who are at the cream. They are the most qualified, they've got all the educational achievements that is required of this, and they are professionals, and yet they don't seem to have the forward vision to ensure the security in terms of power. And the people, of course, have voted President Nandasena Gotabaya in because of exactly that, because of his proven ability in terms of security. But this is not, we're not just talking about the defense of the realm, we're talking about everything, including the power sector. So that's the unacceptable part. What are we going to do with these people? Are they traitors?
Yeah, I would like you to be a little more reasonable in this context, because he has just taken over power.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. He is known for providing security, and then you have this bunch of professionals, I'm going to say so-called professionals, and they have let the side down. After more than a quarter of a century of emergency power, the people have been put out and businesses have been put out, on top of the fact that we've got a pandemic going on. We can't take all these hits.
No, I totally agree with you on this. So what happens is, you need, when you have issues, you need to look at it, and you need to find resolutions to this. So I believe this should be resolved, and then this has to be investigated thoroughly, and then take necessary action if there is.
Do you think it's sabotage?
If it is so, well, people tend to believe that it is sabotage.
Well,
with the background of what is happening, because there is a pattern. There is a pattern of events. As you mentioned, 2016 and prior to that. But what we're trying to say is, during our 10 years of office, of Mahinda Rajapaksa's, we never had any power cuts of this nature.
Right.
Right. But I'm sure that this will be investigated, and if at all, if there is purposeful, willingly, there is certain things which you put it as sabotage, we'll have to take stern action, I believe, if that is the case.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, we have President Rajapaksa being elected. A few weeks later, we had the infamous Swiss affair. We have a new parliament elected. Even before they can take their official seats in parliament, we've got this. So I'm no Jeffrey Archer, but it seems to be a made-in-heaven plot for any author.
I won't disagree with you.
Right.
I would agree with you after the reports that I will see from the minister.
Right.
Right. But basically, I won't disagree with you, because all events that took place within the last few days, one can get into that thinking of, there is.
You mentioned that 10 years of no power cuts and so on, and great investment in the power sector, Norchole and so on. It is Norchole now, apparently, that is at the heart of the problem. Needless to say, even in that 10 years, I forget who the Minister of Power then was, but apparently they didn't do the same thing. If they had invested in mobile power sets that can be used in emergencies and kept around the country, even if it was kept with the army, we wouldn't be having this problem.
No, again, I would say I'm not disagreeing you with those suggestions. But the fact of the matter is, if you look at our manifesto, 2030, 80% we are looking at alternate energy.
Right.
Right, because that is what you call environment friendly and green energy, they call it. Right. So we're looking at that very seriously. We may have a lot of impediments and certain obstructions in between.
Yeah.
But we are determined to ensure that we will have this alternate energy operations going in sort of as we have time.
Somebody is asking why the minister doesn't resign, but honestly, the minister hasn't even started work. So we'll leave that question alone. I want to ask you, in your second round, really, as the media minister and
almost
so on.
Like third round.
You almost like the third round, indeed, yes.
That was the defense spokesperson.
That's right. Now, what do you intend doing? What is your action plan? What are you going to achieve in terms of the media?
Well, before the action plan, today I got down 4 of the ministries or the 4 institutions. Rupani IT and then a few other institutions, altogether about 15 or 16 institutions under my purview. So I'll be making the assessments once I have all the financial reports. And we've asked them to do a 5-year plan. And then also a short-term and a mid-term plan. Together with a long-term 5-year plan. So once I have all that, hopefully by mid next week, I will make my decisions as to where to start and how to start and what form of administration that should be set in, and what sort of targets that should be given. And I'm sure some of those institutions needs very practical and workable targets. And then if the targets are not achieved, then you need to take certain actions, and whatever the consequences that will relate to the results of those action plans, I suppose we'll have to implement certain other alternate arrangements. Some alternate arrangements.
Okay. In terms of the RTI, will your government view it as a nuisance, or do you welcome it?
No, that's not a nuisance. It's a people's funding, because people had this stamp, the stamp of the guarantee of the central bank. All right, because I'm sure some of these people have invested on the basis that there is a guarantee from the central bank and then assurance, and then there is an undertaking by, it's an underwriting, I would say, of the central bank. So you can't just wash your hands off on a situation like
well,
this.
the galling part of that is that this whole transaction with ETI was supposed to help the depositors. Instead, it appears that the people, they've taken on, they've diverted almost the money towards the media unit of that company, leaving the depositors high and dry.
No, that's exactly what I said. You need to, because in our manifesto as well, there's some some redress that is being considered for the people who have deposited on the basis of the central bank stamp being used there, and my understanding is that many of these things, there's a representative of the central bank in the board. So in spite of it, if things happen, then we have to take part of the responsibility, and not only the responsibility, we need to look at how we could help and assist. I won't say even help, I think it's their right to ask for at least their deposits back timely, and then some reasonable interest attached to it.
Right.
And I'm sure we should look at very seriously, and then take the central bank also into the equation, and then work out something, because as you say, some of the media unit that is been sort of where the money has been pumped in, and then there are certain transactions that has taken place. So obviously what you're trying to say is the money is in the hands of the government, in whatever the institution. And it is the responsibility of the government to make sure and ensure that these people are, and I'm of the same view that you can't let these people high and dry, and then, and some people, the way that they come and...
Because it appears that they were only after the media unit and not after the interests of the depositors.
You see, I think it's a little too early, because we have not even, had the first cabinet meeting. Right. So I'm sure this is subject that will be taken up, and not only taken up, and some kind of redress, and then some kind of serious address has to be made to this whole issue. I think.
On that note, we'll go for a short break, notwithstanding the late start, but here we go. Don't go away. After all, this is Newsline Live.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. We've got Mr. Keheliya Rambukwella, the almost 3 times media minister, with us. Now then, you've got a 2/3 majority, which is almost unexpected, almost. You've got a president with a good majority. So in short, you've got what you wanted. How will you deal with international concerns, which has been almost a pain in the side of successive governments? How will you deal with that?
You put it very correctly, I suppose. The pains will have to be looked into, and I'm sure a non-aligned policy and a friendly sort of attitude we will adopt. At the same time, we will be firm on whatever the respect in the constitution of Sri Lanka, because the 30/1 resolution that was brought in by then the Minister of Minister of Foreign Affairs, with co-sponsored by the USA, is something that we withdrew immediately after the victory of that. And although we withdrew literally, but the resolution will stand there, because they will come to under voting, if I believe. But it's one thing I must say, it's non-binding, right? It's not binding, and the Security Council will have to be taken thereof. So I'm sure that the policy of the government is very clear in this. We are non-aligned. We have a very friendly approach to all our all our countries. I mean, our friendly countries where we have established international relations, and we also will have some geopolitical issues that will have to be dealt very strongly.
Isn't it best sorted out on the ground here, in the sense that if we, in the interest of moving on and putting the past behind us and looking to the future, will there be any move towards an apology and reparations, so that your reconciliation is not achieved overnight.
Yeah, I see the reparations or the apology. I think apology for what is a question.
Yeah.
Now,
If there was.
Lord Nesby,
Yeah.
was involved in this whole thing. And then I think he said he took about nearly 1 year from the Home Ministry to get the actual papers out.
I would rather have somebody, nothing against Lord Naseby, but it would be great if we had other people like Lord Naseby say the same thing, instead of
it's
a solo Naseby.
But he is a factor to be reckoned with.
Okay.
And then
But
he's also giving facts
is,
and figures,
the question
which he drew from the Home Ministry.
Yes, I know. Those are all in the past. But if you go to the future, there's still housing needed there. There's still land that people are waiting to have. And if you provide them all with these things and the reparation, alternative land, so on and so forth, they can restart their lives.
Definitely, I'm totally with you. That is not something that will call for separation or any kind of political.
No separation. I'm talking about reparation.
Reparation. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Separation and reparation. Reparation is the compensation in
correct.
other terms,
The compensation.
Right? Yes, it's a compensation, but compensation has to be given in a very methodical system. You see, if you look at Missing Persons Act. Right? Say Missing Persons Act cannot be, if you look at the terms of it.
Well, they're not all missing.
No, that's it. Right, exactly. And then also there are about 3,000-4,000 missing persons within the forces. Okay. So all this has to be taken into consideration. But it was all throughout, I'd say, with commitment and then responsibility. It was one way. Right. I think it's not fair. It is just to escape from the pressure from diaspora and the other people, and to make the West happy. We are not going to make anybody happy or unhappy. It is a question of taking the issue, take the realities into consideration. And well, if the reparation is necessary, then that has to be considered. And you see, for us, if you look at, you see, power was at 32%. We given them fully. They will want their water irrigation. They will want a market for their products. And the results of last elections give us a clear indication that the TNA or any other person, other party, are not the sole representatives of the Tamils.
Indeed.
Right? That's very clear now. There are 11 representatives from the north and the east who are aligned to Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, popularly known as the boat tour. Right? So obviously there is a second thought of these people, and they are definitely moving through more uniform, and
yes, that's the political side, but the people on the ground.
People on the ground, political side. That's what political side was not fair. From political side is always bias, and that biasness was reflected all over, and that was reflected even in the UN. Right? Now what happens is, even the things, the minds of the people are changing. You say that at one time they said you may have won the war, you may have done all infrastructure development, but you have not won the hearts and the minds. That was the story, that was the slogan. But now I feel that having 11 people representing.
So you feel that
there is a twist, there is a definite turnaround, and then we need to look at more. Now that there is a turnaround, we should in fact emphasize more on those areas. Give their irrigation, give their housing. Give them an economic revive. Right? In terms of housing, basics, infrastructure, the basics, their unemployment, their education, health sector, all that will have to be looked into, irrespective of the ethnicity. Right. Whether they are Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, Malay, Burgher, it doesn't matter. But you need to sort of concentrate on the slogan of Sri Lankan has to be a ground reality. Right? You need to work towards that. And I think whatever we did over the past, and there is a shift from that stubborn position to a more flexible area. Right? And we need to look at seriously, and we need to work hard on it and keep that flexibility moving more.
Is there any fear of any sort that if you do that, you may be empowering the people of the North?
Empowering
them against against this?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because there was an era, if you remember, during the 70s, Mr. Bandaranaike was the most well-received politician in the North, right? So during that period and thereafter, things took place and different. I don't want to go into details, but the fact of the matter, there was so much of bitterness, hateness, vengeance that were created over both parties and some other activities.
Right.
Now you have come to a situation there it is simmering down, and I think we need to capitalize out of it and give them more opportunities to think fairly and squarely and say that we are Sri Lankans and we feel that we are Sri Lankans, and the ground reality must be made. We must make that ground reality available for people to be conducive and think that in that manner.
Unfortunately, Keheliya Rambukwella, we've run out of time. But I appreciate your time on our network. Wish you all the very best. And I do hope that you and your colleagues in government will deliver what the public have voted you in for.
Obviously, because we've got more than what we expected, as you say, right? And then the people are basically not given in piecemeal, right? They're given in maximum and say, okay, we are giving you our best. Okay.
Thank you very much. And that's the way it was on this short version of Newsline Live. Take care, have a great evening, and of course, as always, God bless.